Hello, my name is Matt Ivaska, and this is my multi-genre paper, which I selected to do uh, on kind of my lifetime as a runner. My first selection was the Where I'm From that we did week one of our class. There's several kind of excerpts in there about running, but then also just about some of the things, I guess more about me, but then also some of the things that kind of tie in and have affected, running or have been, just other parts of my life. Sort of how running has always just been kind of part of my life, not actually, my existence, I suppose. My next selection is a personal narrative. This is actually the lead that I wrote and revised as part of our uh, writing workshop and discussion forum on conferences. So I chose the revised version, uh, but I went ahead and completed the actual narrative part of it. So it goes on to kind of talk a little bit more about the situation. Just to give the Cliff Notes version here, when I was an 18-year-old, I just had a weird sickness where my lymph nodes blew up and all sorts of different symptoms were coming up. So we went to the doctor, as a normal checkup. Nothing seemed to be wrong until they actually thought that they might have a lymphoma case here. So obviously got a little panic, freaked out, and it turned out that it was mono. But this kind of goes on to talk more about um, that whole experience, from being told, hey, this might be going on, to the end here, where it just kind of comes out where you're actually okay, but more about the life lessons that you learn from going through something like that. So after high school and college and actually having people around me running and things, is that you graduate and suddenly you're kind of on your own a little bit trying to figure things out. So I actually joined a running club. I just made C-Bus runners up, but there's several running clubs in the area. So this just kind of talks about that, some of the benefits of doing that. So um, they're awesome. Definitely something that if you are a runner and you're just looking for someone else to run with, a great thing to join. This is a crot that I just recreated for the multi-genre paper. And so the main thing here is obviously the steps. One thing with running is that you're constantly thinking, but you're constantly running. So the steps kind of show that through everything, through what you're feeling, what you're thinking, all your senses, running never stops. You're always moving. It just kind of goes into maybe how the five senses and some of the different things that you might hear, see, feel, smell, or taste, as you're running. I also recreated a top 10 list for running, um, which with running, there's a lot of things that you might see. A lot of people think runners are weird, and so sometimes even runners think other runners are weird. But just some of the unwritten rules as you get into running, things to keep in mind. So then I did a diary entry, kind of about experiences running the Boston Marathon. Now, truth be told, I haven't run the Boston Marathon, but my dad actually did, and I joined him. So if you reverse his role and my role, this is kind of the experience I think that he might have had, and that I kind of visualize myself maybe one day having. So it kind of just starts out a few days before the marathon and goes through kind of what you think about and kind of some of the events that take place. So the last thing is the six-room poem that we did. And the reason I put this last, is that the longer you run, the more reflective you get, and the more reflective you get, sometimes the more weird you get. But with running, the thing is you're constantly thinking about everything. You're thinking about things in a variety of different ways, and so running, is a paradox, where you feel great, you're exhausted, you think everything's great, and then you're like, I feel like I might pass out any second. So it's just it's a real weird feeling that is awesome and I love it, but you kind of understand why it's not for everybody. And this concludes my multi-genre paper.